I like the good behaviour game because it helps our teamwork and friendship.
I like the good behaviour game because you can play at home and other places too. I like the good behaviour game because it's really fun and you get to do fun activities.
What's being seen as a success story from Oxfordshire schools, a project designed to reduce disruptive behaviour, could be introduced in primary schools across the country following a successful pilot in Oxfordshire. It's called the Good Behaviour Game. The American innovation has been on trial at 6 schools and, as Nikki Mitchell reports, teachers say it's producing dramatic results.
You're in groups and you sat down at the table and your teacher gives you a piece of work to do.
You get these rules and you have to follow them. If you break one, you get a mark.
And if you get more than 5 points, your team will lose and you won't get a stamp in your book or a sticker.
The Good Behaviour Game starts now.
At the beginning of the school year, children are placed into teams, taught 4 class rules, and the game is played for 10 minutes 3 times a week. Each team is rewarded with small prizes when all of its members behave well during the game, but not if the team breaks more than 4 rules. The game is played for increasing lengths of time and across different activities. In this way, the Good Behaviour Game facilitates learning without competing with teaching time.
Team number 2 gets a mark because Jordan broke rule number 1. We will work quietly. Well done to everybody else who's working quietly.
I think the really nice thing about the rules is that they cover every eventuality, really. There's nothing that they don't cover.
And it's really useful to have a hook to hang any praise, any rewards, any sanctions on, even outside of the good behaviour game.
It's kind of very sort of clear cut, and I think that's quite good for children. They know straight away who's broken the rule, and sort of they can visualise how many times they can break the rule until they lose the game.
The local authority became involved in the Good Behaviour Game project when Oxford Brookes University approached us about an American prevention programme that could help children improve their behaviour in classrooms. What we really liked was there was over 30 years of research that it showed worked. And of particular interest were a series of studies that were done in Baltimore primary school classrooms.
But then, importantly, the researchers in these studies from Baltimore in the United States followed these young children up until they were aged 20 or 21 years old. And in these follow-up studies, they found that those children that had been in the Good Behaviour Game classrooms at age 6 or 7 were much less likely to go on to develop drug abuse, drug dependence, much less likely to go on to develop alcohol abuse or dependence problems, much less likely to be smokers. They were much less likely to have diagnoses of mental health problems. When we identified the Good Behaviour Game as an effective prevention programme from trials in the United States, that immediately raised a question of, well, how good would the Good Behaviour Game be over here in the United Kingdom?
We had to address the behaviour in the school fairly promptly. It was an issue throughout the school. I saw it advertised through email and I applied because it was based on positive reinforcement. It was about only 4 rules in the classroom. It was very, very simple and straightforward.
It's very clear. I mean, what you have to do is very clearly laid out, and it is, I mean, the rules fit in very much with our own rules within school. And I think that there is a consistency because it's a clear structure.
I think when I was initially told about it at the very beginning of the year in our staff meeting, I was slightly dubious about what we were being asked to do, really. It was just it was such a different idea, and it was different to the behaviour management that I would usually do.
A lot of it was very different, and I wasn't entirely sure initially how it would work with my group of children.
I think it's hard because sometimes I just want to be loud, and because we can't speak to our teachers when we play the Good Behaviour Game.
We're going to play the Good Behaviour Game for 10 minutes. I'm going to set the timer now. So the Good Behaviour Game is starting now.
I brought it to staff and at first they were a little bit sceptical. What really swung it for them initially was the fact that you've got such fantastic CPD. You don't have that in anything I've ever seen. No college has offered that, for having year-round training really, one-to-one with a coach.
I thought you used lots of different forms of praise throughout, which is excellent. Is there anything you would have done differently around the rules, or anything you would have changed?
Having the coach in means that it gives it more importance, it raises its profile, and it shows that somebody is supporting you through that process as well.
The coaching that I did this year has been the best piece of work that I've done for many years. I learned a lot throughout it all, which for me I thought was very, very positive. I worked alongside a Year 4 teacher, and to watch her grow was an absolute joy.
There have always been suggestions, and Gail's always been very, very positive about reinforcing the good things.
The Good Behaviour game is starting now.
Teachers can be a little hesitant at first because they don't necessarily understand the underlying principles that support the good behaviour game as an intervention. Once they begin to implement the game and they understand how to implement the procedures well and are able to find what works for them, they begin to be very enthusiastic and excited about it. An additional payoff is what they see on the part of their children. Once the children start to respond, the teachers become much more enthusiastic themselves about all aspects of the game.
Everybody succeeded with the game today. Well done. Give yourselves a clap. Brilliant.
Well, I was a bit nervous at first, but then second, I just started liking it because it was all about teamwork.
Our team got a few marks to start with because it was quite hard at first, but now we're a bit more used to it. We hardly get any marks.
I know that the good behaviour game is working in my classroom just by looking at my children, not all actually just playing the good behaviour game, but outside of the good behaviour game.
Just because it's a lot easier to work when people are quiet and there's not as much noise when we don't play it, so it's a lot easier to work because then you can hear yourself thinking.
Just by going in, just by observing, I think the greatest sort of impacts have been on children's approach to learning, their attitudes.
From September, where they were quite unsettled and quite demanding at times, up until now, where they're happy. The year ones will sit in their chairs for extended periods without having to get up and down and ask questions of the staff. They're able to manage themselves and their time better.
It's brought them together as like a team. So the way I've paired my children together, I've put somebody who's on the SCM register with somebody who's gifted and talented actually, and they've sat them together, and often they will help each other, obviously without breaking the rules. They'll sort of remind each other of the rules and say, oh no you can't, and do all of this. So it's brought them sort of together as a class, I think.
Whatever happens, it's an absolutely fantastic programme. You're offering children and staff, life skills really. That's what it's teaching the children.
I found it a really positive experience. I really valued it. In terms of the children, they have also valued it as a positive experience, and I can see that it has had huge benefits.
My favourite things about just taking part of doing it. My favourite bit is winning.
I like to see the good behaviour game in every school, in every class, because it's basically teaching you to have good behaviour, as it says in the title, good behaviour game.
Because then we'd have quite a nice school and everyone would be sensible, and it would be nice that everyone wouldn't be so naughty, and it'd be a lot nicer. Yeah.